Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are here again, Atlanta Discuss. Yes, good morning, good afternoon. 7 continents of the world: Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Europe, Africa, North America, South America. Yes, 7 continents. They listen to us from all the 7 continents because we all get feedback from everywhere. That's why it is. It is still Atlanta Discuss. I'm still your moderator, and my name remains Ade Balogun. Today, we're going to go into the critical analysis of a topic we call the TINUBU papers. And we're going for just the facts. And that's the title, TINUBU papers, the fact. I'm bringing our in-house special advisor and in-house analyst, the very best you can get anywhere, Adejuwon Anjorin. Adejuwon, welcome to Atlanta Discuss today. I'm
Thank
saying
you very
welcome
much.
today because you're always with us.
Thank you very much for bringing me
So
back.
we all know, thank you. So today I know it's a topic that's been in the news. There's a lot of huffing and puffing. There's a lot of here and there. This is not true. That's not true. So today we just want to analyze everything from 1999 till today. And we're just going for the facts. No animosity, no ill feeling, no partisanship. We're just going for the jugular like we always do. As you all know, at Atlanta Discuss, we embrace humanity to disseminate positive news in a world filled with a lot of bad news. We give a voice to the unheard. That's our toga, giving a voice to the unheard. We balance the information equation, we search and discuss the facts wherever it leads. We combine the best of mankind to get the best out of the human race, always, because that is what we're doing, giving humanity the best, and that comes with giving the fact. I will bridge the gap between the developing and the developed world. We embrace business, IT, faith-based issues, history, and you know what? We just don't shy away from the fact. That's why we always bring erudite scholars, people that are ready just to go for the facts. We are not partisan, like I'm saying. We just go for the facts. So the TINUBU papers, facts of the matter. Adejuwon, let's start from 1999. Bola Tinubu was a candidate of AD back then. Can you tell us, we're going to be discussing, it's just me and you actually. So I'm going to, chip in a bit also. It's Atlanta Discuss, we discuss. And our viewers, I'm sure, are very attentive to this. And so we go for the facts. In 1999, when Tinubu wanted to be governor, what did he tell us about his qualification? Can you tell our viewers?
Thank you very much for bringing me back. So, as of 1999, circumstantially, Bola Ahmed Tinubu happened to be one of the good guys in the pantheons of Nigerian political space at the time because he had participated in the Nadeko struggle against the military, and Nigerians rewarded him by, voting for him to become the governor of Lagos State. However, shortly after he became governor, news began to leak into the public space about a lot of discrepancies in the documents that he had filed to the equivalent of INEC at the time. I don't know if it was INEC. It wasn't NECON, it was INEC at the time. And no lesser a figure than the most maverick lawyer, potentially, law activist that has come out of Nigeria, Chief Gani Fawemi, who was also a Yoruba man, took up the case and went to court and granted some very fiery interviews where he literally used very, very strong words on the person of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And among the discrepancies at the time were discrepancies about his name, his school, where he graduated from. At the time, actually, he had filled the forms and said he graduated from the University of Chicago. Why he did not graduate from the University of Chicago at the time. There was just a number of discrepancies that I don't remember the specifics of each one of them. But the erudite lawyer had his facts right. He went to court. Nothing really came out of that case at the time. However, those issues have stayed and have dogged Bola Tinubu's political career in Nigeria up until the present day that we are in, where we have this essentially an international embarrassing mess that the whole world is laughing at Nigeria presently. Still on the same issues, more lies, more discoveries, and that's just where we are today.
Interesting. Yeah, let me just add to what you've said. The form he filled at that time, the INEC form he filled, clearly stated that, in his own words, which he signed under affidavit and what have you, said he attended St. John's Primary School, Lagos. Now, we do now know that at that time, there was no St. John's Primary School, Lagos. There was a St. Paul Primary School. are a lawyer. There was St. John's Primary School, I think was St. Paul's. That was so,
mm,
that school was not in existence. They also said they attended Government College Ibadan. I
mm,
think the old boys at that time, I think they were actually happy that one of them became governor. They were preparing to host him. And I think they were not asking among themselves which set was he, and they actually discovered that, and I think we mentioned in the last edition that when you go to an old school like that, it's not always very
mhm,
difficult to find out which set. There is a role of honor. So you
mhm.
understand. So it's very easy. You went to Elisha Grammar School, I went to Abete Grammar School. So it's not a difficult thing
No.
yeah. Yeah, he also said he was a certified public accountant in that 1999, which of course we
Mm,
have discovered that is also false. He said he went to Chicago State University, which we'll get into later, which is the main contention in all this melee. Then he now said he went to University of Chicago, which of course, according to what we know at that time, late Chief Gani Fawemi was able to prove, and the school disowned him.
mm.
But another thing, I mean, going forward, then the issue was that I think they agreed that there were discrepancies. But the issue was that because he had immunity, he was a sitting governor. So
Mm.
all those issues were, you
And
understand. But the question
a
I want to
friend of
ask you
his
now,
came forward. This is
yeah,
important, Mr. Diolu. A
okay.
friend of his
Yeah.
came forward, Senator Tokunbo Afikuyomi at the time, and
Mm.
essentially took the fall. He said, "Oh, it's my fault. I was the one who filled out the form for him, all these forms for him, and I got my facts wrong. Tinubu himself didn't do this, so blame me." I don't know what penalty he got, if he got any penalty at all, which is very, very important in the discussion we're about to have today. How
Mm.
reputable Nigerians, so people who should be reputable in society, have created this system that has upheld lies and upheld a system that makes it difficult for honest people to ascend, but makes it easy for dishonest people, unscrupulous fellows to get to positions of authority. I think that will come in handy later in this discussion.
All right, fantastic. So what we know that at that time the court ruled that he had immunity, there was a sitting governor, even though I think they believe that maybe Gani was right in one thing or the other, but he could not be prosecuted.
Mm.
So I think the issue only came up again when Jonathan became president, when the former Attorney General, I think
Okay.
Adoke, was to take him to court that they know clearly that even though was under oath, I filled those INEC form, and he clearly lied about the St. John's School and Government College, Ibadan.
Ibadan.
I'm sure at that time they all felt, yeah, that Chicago State was not an issue, but he lied about Government College, Ibadan. So they were going to, there have been some papers in circulation that we have seen, court papers that were filed that was eventually withdrawn. Can you shed more light on that if you have any information on that?
Based on political expediency, yes, the news came out, and I ran into the news recently where Adoke had prepared what was supposed to be an impenetrable case against the president of Bola Ahmed Tinubu based on all of these issues. And let's not forget that all of these discrepancies we're talking about are unofficial documents that he swore an oath to, affidavit to say these facts are supposed to be true under the risk of perjury. So clearly, the personality of Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been in the realm of perjury for in that business for a while. But as we know, political considerations took precedence at the time, and the case did not go forward, and that was the end of that, leading down to what we have today.
Yeah, but one of the reasons they came, like you said, for political expedience was that then President Jonathan, I think was it 2011, wanted the support of the Southwest for the election. So he needed Bola Tinubu, who was the leader of the
The leader of
political
the Southwest.
Southwest wing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, politically, they had, I think, Osun, Ekiti, Lagos, at that, I think there were about three states. And part of the agreement, from what we have been told, and it actually came to light was that I think the rampaging TINUBU army, as Benga Daniels would call them at that time, also asked that the presidency should support them to get back Oyo and Ogun states, which were under PDP, I think at that time or something like that. Yeah. So that's how Akala lost to Ajumabi. And I think whatever machination, Benga Daniel, PDP that was divided into different whatever. Okay, that was under Yaradua. That's how Amosu became governor, something within that. I might not be exactly, so like you said, for political expediency in 2011,
Well,
so
so yeah, excellent, Mr. Ado. You have the political facts, but for me,
mm,
the lesson in it is when a society trades the truth for political expediency, that is what has led down to where we are today. From 1999 to 2003 or 2004, whatever year this was, it's the same thing that has happened. As a society, as a people, we saw the truth. The truth was stared at us in the face. We chose to walk away from it because of political gains. And what started as a small beast has now grown into monstrosity to the point that Nigerians are now
hold
facing the
on.
consequences of it. And I'm glad that you have all of these facts and all of this history. But the lesson must not be lost on us as a people, as Nigerians, that when you trade, you see, there's an old saying that says that those who ride on the back of a tiger to power, usually they will end up in the belly of that tiger. And if you ask me, that is what has happened to Nigeria's political terrain now. So, 1999, we had a politician come out to take the fall. A few years after, the president and the ruling party traded a deal with this man who they knew had all of these albatrosses, vulnerabilities, political vulnerabilities. But instead of standing on the truth and pursuing the case to a logical conclusion, they decided to trade that essentially and wrestle him almost like a political trade off, blackmails, if you will. If you give us the states, we will not prosecute you for what you've done. And like I was saying earlier, we have managed to incubate what started as a small beast and it has become such a beastly, monstrous animal that is
No, it's a
threatening
Leviathan now.
the genie is out of the bottle. As we speak right now, Nigerians are facing the consequences. There are Nigerians right now who are applying to schools within the space of 1 week. This position, maybe a week or two ago, like there are Nigerians right now who are applying to schools, and the schools are pushing back on their certificates because they want to go and do further research. There are Nigerians
Wow.
right now whose academic credentials, who are already working, nurses, whose academic credentials are now being questioned and their licenses are being withdrawn because they have to go and retake exams. So the choices that our leaders made, the choices that our political elites made to sacrifice the truth for political expediency, all of us are paying the price now, and we will continue to pay the price. If you're Nigerian and you're in the diaspora, it doesn't matter who you support. We are all going to pay the price of this issue. Don't forget that we are coming from a background where if you're into information technology, and you do anything around cybersecurity, there's no way you will not hear about the Nigerian Prince email scam. It's become almost like a brand. Don't forget that only a few years ago, Hush Puppy was arrested in Dubai and brought to the US to be prosecuted. Don't forget that right now, a former governor from Nigeria was arrested in the UK with so many millions of pounds and he escaped just as a woman. Please do not forget that our former Minister of Petroleum, Yazani, is currently facing charges. Please don't forget that our former Deputy Senate President is currently in the Gulag in the UK right now on organ trafficking charges. We're talking about just one country. And now you have your president, your president in this kind of situation. So
It's
these are
unbelievable.
not great times, but these are consequences of decisions that we took as a people, that our elite took on our behalf, based on the falling value system that we have. And I hope that that's a real issue that I hope we will explore as we proceed.
Yeah, I think it's important to also add to what you said that especially for Atiku and Abubakar Atiku and President Jonathan, because according to Atiku, that in 2003, when the Obasanjo government at the federal level decided to overwhelm the Southwest, the Obasanjo tsunami at that time, and they had the machinery at their disposal to take Lagos, and we don't know the nitty-gritty of the story, but Atiku has come out to say, well, he told Obasanjo in clear terms that leave this guy alone, that, and he said it publicly at his last press conference that he saved him. Now the same Bola Tinubu, yes, have now come. At least there are records of times they didn't support Atiku, especially during APC convention, primaries, and what have you, and of course recently, and also to President Goodluck Jonathan, who in 2015 did not get the backing of Tinubu. They'd already formed APC in 2013, 2014. And of course, because he did not deal with it then. So these things have consequences. People
They
that
have
read 48 Laws of
consequences.
Power will tell you that you don't, like, remember that movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? They say, shoot,
And
shoot,
the
don't
ugly.
talk. Shoot, don't talk, man.
Yeah,
You
if you
don't,
gotta shoot,
yeah,
shoot, don't talk. Like
don't talk.
you
Especially when
can't
you
keep
have a slam dunk. Mm. Okay. Okay, so let's fast forward to him running for president, which is probably going to take the bulk of our time. He also filled an INEC form, and let me allow you to talk about that. So he filled another form. What do we know? What was it similar to the form he filled in '99?
no, a lot of things have changed. A lot of facts had changed. For instance, and again, I'm going to salute David Hundeyin. I think that guy put a lot of generations of Nigerians to. He asked them questions. Let me mind my language. He asked my generation questions to say, where were you when these things were happening to Nigeria? Where were you? If you're in your 40s right now, late 30s, 50s, saying, where were you? Because as of 1999, I don't know how old David Hundeyin was. So we saw this beast grow, but he's the one who was taking up the gauntlet at paying tremendous price to dig out these issues. But let's get into the facts. So the INEC forms, completely different. We mentioned in 1999, he talked about Government College Ibadan. The INEC forms of this last presidential elections puts him in Government College Lagos.
No, he didn't put anything. He
My
did.
bad. He
It
didn't
was
put
blank.
anything. It was blank.
Yeah,
It's
for primary
the
and secondary, yes.
exactly. He's the qualified certificate to enter from is it Daly College into Chicago State that has.
So he just said he went to Chicago State University. That's the only thing on the INEC form. And the NYC discharge certificate, I think it's even an exemption certificate. I'm not sure. That's all he said. So I think that was a very big lacuna and aberration because he now proves that whatever he did, he
Open
said in 99 was false.
was a lie. And we have a senior advocate of Nigeria who is presently a federal minister who came on air to say, oh, that's how it is. Like, that's how great men do it. They study from home. They don't go to primary school. They don't go to secondary school. They study from home and they go straight to university. It's very, very unfortunate. So I was talking about the discrepancies. We have multiple ages for this man, multiple ages. On the Chicago State University documents, we have a certain age, I believe 1952 or so. On the INEC forms, we have something different, perhaps 1954. Right now, people have dug out factually that he has sworn to 3 different dates of birth already on sworn documents. So that's one of the mysteries that we see about the person of our president. If you could please help me with the actual issues. Because there are so many that I can't, it's hard for me to track them anymore.
Well, I know. That's why we're just doing the facts. That's why me and you will discuss, and we're comparing script, really. That's why it's Atlanta discuss, and we have to discuss it, So for presidency, he just put Chicago State University and the NYC certificate. And when he was asked if he has been citizen of another country, he said no. So that's clear perjury because it has not been discovered that he had a Guinean diplomatic passport and if truly he went to Chicago State, as I'm going to discuss subsequently, that person that went to Chicago State University is an American citizen. Yeah. So that's where we're going to now, where we're going to talk about what David and the Ember guy did, the lawyer. Because David and the guy, Ember, the attorney, got a law firm in America at that time, and they subpoenaed Richard Daly College. It's now called Southwestern College. They subpoenaed Chicago State University, the Chicago Deloitte Haskins, but I think they call it Deloitte now. So, and they got responses actually, and the response they got first from Southwestern College, which that's the name it's called now. At that time, was called Richard Daly College. The first thing they observed was that under gender, of course, there's a Bola A. TINUBU, but under gender they saw female, which was clearly stated. As we speak, nobody has come out to deny that. They've not even called it a typo. We've not heard from Southwestern College, and I think there's a reason why we've not heard anything from Southwestern College because I think that F it means a lot, The other thing they got subpoena for was Deloitte. And remember in 1999 when Gani came after him, and all that, one of the excuses Bola Tinubu, then governor of Lagos, gave was that he was working for Deloitte. These are facts that I said in an interview. I think with one of this. Yeah, that was working for Deloitte. I was seconded to work with Saudi Aramco. and he got paid a lot of bonuses. That's why he was able to have $1.8 million in his account.
His
Now,
account,
now we
even though his
know,
annual
yeah,
salary at the time,
yeah,
was less than fifty thousand
yeah,
dollars a year, I think.
that kind of thing. So, I mean, now nobody knew there was any forfeiture at that time. But Eba and David now, so while digging, found out that he actually forfeited $460,000 at that time as proceeds of heroin trafficking. I mean, I think that irrespective of whatever qualification, even if he had gone to Harvard every day of his life, anybody that's forfeited that amount of money for as a proceed, because it was clearly stated, you read it, I read it, that was proceed of heroin trafficking. So anybody that's read that knows should not even aspire to be president of a country. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think we discussed, we've talked about this issue 3 times. And I remember the very first time we talked about it, it was so far, the actual case was so far ahead that all we could say was if this is so, this is what should happen. The second episode is if. Now we've gotten to the place where now there's no longer if. Like the facts are out there in the open. David Hundeyi and Samuel Bai were the first people who brought this out. But I think because they don't have the clout that Atiku Abubakar has, being the former vice president, there's not much new that Atiku Abubakar has exposed that David and the other gentleman did not expose. But now, at least the world has paid attention. If a person has forfeited money for heroin trafficking, I think that in a decent society, any decent society, that should have been sufficient for the society to say for the political party. And if the political party did not refuse him, the society should not have voted him in. Like, how does this happen? How does this happen? They have come up with all sorts of excuses that it was the bank account that was sued, that was charged, not him. Well, bank accounts don't open themselves. Bank accounts don't put money in themselves. Somebody does that. So I feel it's very, very obvious that as a society, we have permitted this to go way too far, way too far. As a society, our tolerance towards corruption and corrupt individuals becoming our leaders, our tolerance is very, very, very low. And I don't know how that is going to change, but that has to change. Because if that doesn't change, this will not be the base to which we will fall. We will fall further into ignominy in the Community of Nations. But yes, I completely agree with you that was enough. All of it was enough, Mr. Diolu. All of it was enough. The falsification of age, the falsification of Government College Ibadan, University of Chicago, every single one of these items that was false was enough to have said, okay, no, you cannot represent us as our party nominee, as our political leader, because you have integrity issues. But no, we did not do that. And here we are today.
So, having said all that, let's leave the forfeiture a bit now. From one of the things that came out from David and Eba's revelation was also the government college
Lagos
issue. Lagos, yeah, which is said they attended in 1970. He finished from school in 1970. Yeah.
So that means he
the school was
entered in
actually
1960 something.
Yeah. And the school was established in 1975. I know I have one or two cousins that attended the school, and it's clearly stated on the, before I had to call someone to go to that blackboard where they wrote all those principles. Because when my cousin attended, I know their principal there was Abani Wonder, I can never forget. And Abani Wonder was principal between 1980 and 84. But even on the list of principal on the board in the school is there. 74 to 77 was Banwo. 77 to 79 was Odulami. So you understand? So that shows they were really created in 74. And we know, and it was a Balaji Johnson created school and project at that time. So it definitely was not, so now the issue goes further, when we even leave government college. Let's now come to the one that's everybody's talking about, that he is even trying to lay claim to that win, which is the Chicago State University. So I want us to analyze that. Southwestern College, where he got what you call the associate degree before going to Chicago State University.
Claims he got.
That who was female. You understand? Yeah. So
and a U.S. citizen. That's important.
And a U.S. citizen, very emphatic. Yeah. And I think part of what documents that Atiku and his lawyers got clearly showed that Bola Tinubu did not even graduate from that university, male or female, irrespective of who it is, because it was clearly their documents that were given by Chicago State University. Yeah. That showed that there were still one or two outstanding courses, especially
correct.
Yeah. So fast forward to deposition. the school said the certificate that Bola Tinubu presented to the president, to INEC, that's the Chicago State University certificate, they cannot vouch for it, that it did not emanate from. They did not use the word
From
forgery,
them.
but yeah. And they actually went as far as saying that there's no record of him ever asking for his certificate. You understand?
Or
So
even the
now
replacement.
Eba and Unde's job were able to retrieve a certificate. So what do you think could have happened within that time? Considering also that they said the Bola Tinubu, based on document available, did not finish that English courses and one other courses before graduation. What's your opinion? What do you think transpired within that time? What do you think is the
Well,
status?
from the documents that have been released so far and from the deposition that we've seen and read, clearly the certificate submitted to INEC was not issued by Chicago State University. And I think that we don't need to say too much after that. So where did that certificate come from? That's number one. Number two, the documents also show that, like you said, I believe it was English language. There was an outstanding course, and the student was instructed, you need to take this course in order to fulfill the requirements of graduating from this program. There is no document that says that he actually went back and passed that course. So as it is unclear that he actually graduated, that the student graduated from that school. I think perhaps one of the misses that the Atiku legal team missed was speaking on this issue on time. Because the documents were released on a Monday, the deposition was on a Tuesday, and then some of these facts, the analysis did not come through until multiple days later. The Atiku legal team should have asked a direct question to the CSU guy to say, did this student actually graduate? They did say that they didn't issue a certificate to him in 1979. So, in essence, it means it didn't. But did this person graduate? Because look at this document, it says he has not finished his program. So, it seems, and this can be thrown as a conjecture, as a conclusion. My conclusion from seeing all of these things is it seems that the student did not graduate. It seems that the student created their own certificate and they just ran with it. So, those gentlemen who came out and saw affidavits that they were in school with him, maybe they were in school with him, because that was a part that really, really got me. Like, who would put his reputation on the line to come and lie to the world like this if this man did not go to school? So, yeah. So now for me, it seems like he was there, he went through the program, but it's not clear that he graduated. But what we do know for sure is that the certificate that he submitted was not issued by the school. So I don't know what else forgery is.
I'm saying it's complete. That's why I asked you, what are your thoughts, considering all the evidences, all the evidence available? Because the yearbook, because he was supposed to have graduated in 1979. Now, if you go to Chicago State University online website, blah, 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 the 79 yearbook is missing. It's not just missing online, it's missing in their archives, physical archives in the library. So that raises more questions. Do you understand? So why is everything 79 missing? You understand? Then also, I think that from the deposition, the lawyer said that he never requested for it. There's no record anywhere to show that he requested for a new certificate. You understand? So the argument I have, the question I'm putting to you is that why do you need to forge a certificate of a school you attended? Because I was told some said $8, some said $25 to get a new one. And contrary to insinuation everywhere about third party, which has been debunked already, because that particular school does not use a third party for certificate. You apply directly to their portal. So my question to you is that why should anybody use a fake certificate if you attended the school? You just need to apply for a new one.
Attend is different from graduate from. You can attend and not finish. For me, that's the only logical conclusion, because it doesn't make sense. If you attended and graduated from a school, why would you go to forge certificates of the program? It makes no sense. You apply for a replacement certificate from the school, but the school said that never happened. The transcript says he didn't pass a particular exam. So I think, without saying too much, there's no mystery here. It's clear. It's clear to the blind. It's loud enough for the deaf to hear what's going on here. Like, our president is a unique individual. He's a very, very unique individual. For him to have survived all of this through all of these years and continue to push through all the way. Don't forget, even before he became president, he's been the political lord of the Southwest Nigeria for almost 20 years now. To have gone this far I had a debate yesterday on one of the platforms. I know you're on the platform. I don't know if you saw the debate. The case about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is clear. At this point, honestly, regardless of what Supreme Court decides, it's clear. It doesn't matter. Even if they choose to retain him, in the face of this mounting evidence, they will just further bring Nigeria into ignominy. That's what it is. But I think that where we should now spend enough time is looking at Nigeria as a system, as a society, and as a culture, and see how did this happen and why does it keep happening from the cultural perspective, from the values perspective, from the norms perspective. How did the people like the Yorubas, who pride themselves in values like Laakaye, which is wisdom, Omoluabi, which is nobility and honor. So how did we get to this point where even a lot of our leadership are mum on this issue? They can't even speak because they know the truth, but the courage is not there to address it. The case with Chicago State University certificates and the age, the gender, the citizenship, you need just one of them to disqualify a candidate in a discussed society, just one. We're talking about a country, Nigeria. In Nigeria, at one point, Professor Tam David West collected a wristwatch as a gift from a company, and he was charged for corruption. In Nigeria, a wristwatch. Tam David West paid a big fee for that. We're talking about a society that was that strict at some point. So how did we get to this point where anything goes, essentially, and then anybody can defend anything? That is what we really need to look at and to begin to discuss as the generation who is in the middle. I call us, we're in the middle. If you're in your 40s and 50s, you're in the middle. Like, you're no longer really a youth.
Yeah,
you're no
we're in
longer
the middle. I
retired.
agree.
Yes, like this is, you're at the center of the workforce. You're at the center of the political force of the country. How can we salvage this system? How can we bring change of values, change of orientation, and sanity back into our system so that people who have such shady pasts do not emerge our leaders? The last time we spoke, Mr. Diolu, we talked about Dr. Ikejiani and the forgeries. We talked about Senator Nwafo Orizu. We talked about Salisu Buhari. We talked about Evans Enwerem. There was Buruji Kashamu that became a diplomatic row between Nigeria and the United States. And currently, apart from the president, we have people in the highest levels of our government there are governors who have served criminal sentences in the US. There are people in Aso Rock who have been disbarred for fraud. These things it's mounting. And Nigerians, we are proud people. We love to pride ourselves in our Niger identity, and we are very smart and all of these things. But we must also be willing to look at ourselves in the mirror and say things the way they are, to say something is wrong here. Why is it that our leadership is full with people who have so many check marks in their career? That is really the conversation that we need to have.
All right, we're going to try and talk about that, but that's probably the last thing I was going to ask for. So we still have like 3 questions to go. So you listened to Atiku's press conference vis-a-vis the deposition and all that, and Obi. I mean, I felt that it was a good thing they all spoke out, and that, that kind of thing. It's good for the country that they spoke about. Looking forward, India swim league, for the politics heated, the economy is really damaged. I always say battered almost beyond repairs. The dollar to naira exchange is unbelievable, So what do you think? How do you think this will end actually? Because it does look, and I've always said it, that it does look like we're inherently dishonest as a people. You understand that whatever involves the president today, we have said it before, it's not new. In the First Republic, there were issues of forgery, and you have said that you expect people to come out and talk. But has it not occurred to you that because of the high level of corruption in Nigeria, that all our billionaires, wealthy people, also that majority of people made their money under very spurious circumstances? That, I mean, like they always say that if you know, like Jesus said in the Bible, that if you know you are innocent, cast the first stone. So that, and the people don't seem to be casting no stone right now. Opinion leaders, religious leaders, financial leaders, so it does look at people are actually being introspective and like, what's the big deal? Because like, is it the first person that would do that? It's not the first time it's gonna happen. It's looking like that. And what bothers me, I'm now speaking personally, now, is that people I've seen that benefited from the Western region free education, especially the Awolowo free education, and even the Jakonde Awolowo period, are speaking in favor of this. I think that's very sad. Now, in lieu of all this, where do you think all this will end? Because you've said irrespective of what Supreme Court says and all that, where do you think it will end? What do you think will be the implication for Nigeria?
It will end in one of two ways. Number one,
Hmm.
the Supreme Court rises up to the occasion and does what is right. And that singular action, because that has never happened in Nigeria's history, where a president is removed based on legality and things like that. If that happens in Nigeria, it will catapult our national reputation to great heights, and that will have impact on our economy. That will boost the confidence of foreign direct investors to say this country holds the rule of law to be sacrosanct. If we put our money here, they have a judiciary that will rule according to the rule of law. Because the rule of law is one of the key issues that drives foreign direct investment. So that is one possibility. It will be a cataclysmic change. Like, it's going to be a very big deal. It's going to be a very, very big deal because it's never happened before. The current president is a very influential man, not just in Nigeria, across the West African region and all over the world. So it will be, a lot of people don't see it happening just because it has never happened. Well, I don't look at life that way. There's always a first time something happens. So that's one of the ways. That would be the best way for Nigeria. That this is dealt with. Nigeria doesn't need to prosecute anybody. Nigeria can pardon, just like President Nixon was pardoned. But the right thing needs to be done in order to salvage Nigeria's reputation, in order to defend the integrity and honor of Nigerians in the diaspora. That is what I hope is done. The other way, the second alternative, it's that the Supreme Court will uphold the legitimacy of the president. And that will be very, very, very sad. I think that some international media who have not spoken yet, some international personalities who have not spoken yet, if that does happen, then we will begin to hear certain voices begin to speak across the world, and they will not be speaking nice about Nigeria. They will then expose the issue and say, oh, this is what has happened in Nigeria. The Nigerian judiciary is weak. And that will affect the Nigerian brand image. It will affect individual Nigerians all over the world. And then it will create a presidency that will be severely and sorely lacking in moral legitimacy among Nigerians, which is very, very, very important. Don't forget that in sheer number of votes, I believe that the president had about 30% of the total votes cast. Peter Obi and Atiku had about 60% of the total votes cast. So the president didn't come to power with this tremendous majority vote. That's number one. There's a legitimacy issue there. But be that as it may, INEC declared him. If the moral legitimacy of the presidency is tarnished and young people, especially young people, do not find legitimacy in the president, they will not respect his presidency, and it will have an impact on the country. Then, talking about young people again, which is very, very important, what lesson would we have taught the next generation? We were raised on the principles of Ishelo Gushe. On BCOS, but when I was growing up, every morning for years, honesty is the best quality. Train your child to be honest. I will never forget that jingle, 7 a.m. in the morning, dressing for school. How will we go now to the youth and tell them, don't do things like this? As a matter of fact, we will have legitimized that forgery is okay, that perjury is okay, that if you have enough money, if you have enough connections and influence, you can get away with anything in our society. That is not the kind of society that we want to build. That is not the kind of lesson we want to teach and pass on to our children. So these are the two ways that this will end. And by God, I hope that the former is what happens, because it is better for one man's political ambition to be sacrificed than for a whole country's aspirations to be annihilated like this.
Okay, let's look at the Supreme Court judgment from a constitutional perspective. You understand? We know, is it section 37 or 38? I'm not very sure, so don't let me just say something that's not true. Yeah, that's a section that's emphatic on forgery, any forgery, if you and there's precedent, in the case of Bielsa, Leon and his deputy, Leon, I think the deputy submitted a fake WAEC and the Supreme Court ruled, and that automatically affected the governor, who wasn't, Leon was the governor, but it was deputy that had, in fact, he was rehearsing for the swearing in for the next day to be governor. So it was while he was rehearsing the match pass that the judgment came, and even the Oddlies, the security men attached him, walked away. It became a nobody,
That was a
that kind of.
mess.
Yeah, same to court. So, and there are others like that we can refer to on the issue
Hmm.
of forgery. And when you talk about forfeiture, also, Justice Ariwala, the Chief Judge, has always said forfeiture is a crime, that it's a punitive measure. And our jurisprudence is replete with example
With
of those kind of
precedents.
things. Yeah,
Hmm.
precedents, yeah. So now, we also know that, like I said about Leon, that if, for example, they rule that Bola Tinubu forged certificate, and that automatically affects Shetima. So that takes APC out of the equation, for example. I know Supreme Court, anything can happen. Like you said, nobody's actually expecting them. But if they do the needful, for example, because they no-brainer actually, except they want to bend the rules. And we all know the implication if they bend the rules. But let's say that is done. Now you now have PDP and LP. What do you think is the likely outcome? Do you think there'll be a runoff, or they'll give it to Obi or give it to Atiku or something? Because there are other constitutional provisions that the appeal court has messed with big time, part of which was the 25% in FCT, which we know has always been sacrosanct, which they overlook. So my question is, constitutionally speaking, which means doing the right thing, what do you think would be the likely outcome? Let's say you are the deciding judge now from the constitutional perspective.
From the constitutional perspective, to be honest, I'm not certain. I do know that if the president and the vice president have to leave power, have to leave authority or the position they occupy, the Senate president is supposed to step in to take over. You had that situation in 1966. That's how Nwafo Rizzo stepped up after Tafawa Balewa and Nnamdi Azikiwe were taken out. He was the Senate president, and I think he governed Nigeria for a short while, a couple of days. So the Senate president is supposed to step up. Now, what he's supposed to do, I'm not sure. But whatever it is, I hope that we'll follow the constitution to the letter so that we don't have a constitutional crisis in Nigeria like we had in the days of Yar'Adua being sick and they didn't want to hand over to Jonathan and they had to take pressure and protest for Congress or National Assembly to just do the right thing. If the Supreme Court does the right thing and justice is done on this issue and what is forged is called what it is, forged, I hope that the National Assembly, Senate President, when it takes over, the reins of authority to make sure everything is stable, just do what the Constitution says. If the truth kills them, let them die. Let justice be done even if the heavens fall. I don't care what it is. If it's going to result into an Atiku presidency, if it's going to result into an Obi presidency, we need to start practicing following the rule of law, not political expediency. I think as a system, that is what we must focus on.
Let's look at this scenario. What if Tinubu decides to resign? It's not impossible.
If Tinubu resigns, then
Of course, we've not seen him for
Shetima
some
becomes
time.
president.
Yeah, I know. He's not been in public for a while. We don't know what's happening. There's not been any communication. According to Peter Obi's press conference, said the president should come out and tell Nigeria who he is. What do you think about that press conference?
100%. And I was going to talk about that before Peter Obi went on this interview, on this press conference, actually. So he probably stole that idea from my head. The president's silence over this issue is a tacit admission of guilt. That is what it is. When your credibility, your personal credibility is called into question, you do not wait for the courts. And you are the president of a country. No, you don't wait for the courts to decide. You need to come out and address Nigerian people who voted for you, who you lead. Just like Peter Obi said. Say, okay, everybody calm down. This has gone way too far. This is distracting us from the work that we have at hand. We are one country, regardless of our political differences. I know you guys are curious. I was born this, in this city, in this year, in the family of this man and this woman. I grew up here, following my mother to the market, and I went to primary school here. I went to secondary school here. My teacher was this. He used to say this to me. I'm sure if I ask you something about your secondary school, you remember something that some funny teacher used to say. So I went to this primary school, I went to the secondary school, and reintroduce yourself. But the president can't do that. The president can't do that because he has told so many lies about who he is. He has sworn so many affidavits at different times that have discrepancies. So if he comes out to do that, he will further incriminate himself because he might be saying something new that was not on any of the documents he has signed before. See, when you've built, if the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? When you've built lie upon lie upon lie upon lie upon lie, it's very, very difficult to stand boldly on top of what you do because you know it's a lie. The Yoruba adage says the farmer who goes to the farm and every day comes back and tells his people, oh, I was able to make 200 heaps today. The other day, I made 100 heaps today. Yoruba people say, on the day that the harvest is supposed to come, we will see if you actually made those heaps or not. So that is why the president's silence at this point, if Atiku has called a press conference, Obi has called a press conference, TINUBU should be ahead of that to tell the world who he is. And which is what Festus Adebayo, there's a gentleman called Festus Adebayo who has been talking, who actually wrote an article 2 weeks ago in support of the president before the deposition came out. And when the deposition came out, his jaw basically fell to the floor. Say, oh my gosh, what have I done? I've taken the wrong position. Because his argument was the president should have been happy to release his academic credentials if he was indeed a first-class graduate. That is what you do. You taunt it. You flaunt it, rather. This is who I am. This is my achievement. But the president has not done that. And we should not expect him to do that. If he does resign, I think it will be a good off-ramp. Let the vice president step in and let Peter Obi and Atiku continue their case in court. That would be a good way to land this whole issue for Nigeria.
Okay, let's look at it from another perspective. I understand that. I believe, now I'm speaking for myself now, because I've researched this thing quite a bit. I've spoken to a lot of people that look, this thing we've always known, that it's not a new thing and all that. I've spoken to very old people that said that even before the APC primaries, that they called him, people that were close to him, very elder statesmen, that were saying that that God has been nice to you thus far and don't push your luck too far and all that. And I was reliably informed that was even where the Emilio Con started before it went public in Abekta, that no, that it's not going to serve anybody again, that is entitled to this time, he's going to go for it. That's a private discussion, even though the sources are reliable, so I'm not going to stake my reputation on that. But the point, however, is that even if, because I believe, anybody that lives in America or most part of the world, when we fill forms, they ask you whether you have aliases or any old name, or, I do believe that he must have some semblance of education. It might just not be in the name of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You understand? Yeah. Because I believe that Southwestern document, that Bola Tinubu was clearly a female. Maybe he now used whatever document to go into Chicago State, which he clearly did not graduate from. You understand? Because if he had graduated from that school, it's a no-brainer. He will ask for a certificate. So, but having said all that, even if he comes out now and answers Obi's call, for example, my name is John Fatoki, my name is Abdul Samad, Joshua, or whatever, and I went to Feigbule Grammar School, I was a labor prefect, all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does that negate the fact that the certificate that was submitted was a forgery?
Absolutely not. Absolutely no, it does not. But that would incriminate him. There's a point where you can walk things back, and there's a point where you can't walk things back. When you've taken certain things too far, and the consequence of walking things back is basically saying, okay, I want to confess that I murdered this person, and I'm willing to be executed for it. But there's a point where you can't walk things back. The forgery stands on its own 2 feet. That's never going to change. Even repentance, even an open admission of guilt, whatever it is, that's never going to change what's already happened in the past. What has already happened in the past is already done, is written in ink, the ink is dry. That's never going to change any of that. But going forward, we really need to examine things in our system. For instance, the strongman. See, I have a real problem with strongmanism, which is one of the root causes of where we are today. Why do we Africans, or let me say we Nigerians, why do we have a penchant of gravitating and creating a strong man in our society? Because if we're saying that he was told not to go and he went, it's because of the influence that he has. And listen, President Bola Tinubu is a strong man. And we've had them in the past in Nigeria. We had Lamidi Adedibo in Ibadan. And we know what happened with that, how a whole governor was kidnapped, removed from office by thugs or the orders of Lamidi Adedibo. We had the Senior Saraki in Kwara State, who basically ruled Kwara State almost like a god throughout his life. We had the Uba brothers. I remember if it's Anambra State, one of the states in the east. Those guys too also kidnapped a sitting governor, And if you trace the history of our politics or leadership in society, you will see that Nigerians always create a strong man and then gravitate around that strong man. And that is something that we need to change if we want to be a successful democracy. We need to be able to create a society where everybody has a voice and everybody can follow principles. Loyalty should be to principles and not to persons. And if loyalty is to a person, it must be on the basis of principles. And the moment that person deviates from those principles, loyalty should say, no, we are staying true to who we are. You can go. Records have it that it was senators from Nixon's party that went to tell him that, Mr. President, you need to resign now. The ball is up, the evidence is out, you need to go. And that was when he knew that it's over. He called some of his allies and they said, Mr. President, we are not with you on this one. Principles is what led Republicans like John McCain, late John McCain, Mitt Romney, to say, no, yes, Trump, you're a Republican president, we're not going to follow you down this path. This is indecent. That is what we need to now find a way to push down in our society. Because these are the root causes. It might be Bola Tinubu today. I promise you in 30 years' time, it will be somebody else, very, very, very similar, doing the same thing. Because we cannot become a society where everybody can be paid and bought. And once you are paid and bought, then that's it. You just support anything. No. I refuse to be that African. I refuse to be that African. That's exactly how colonialism succeeded. That's exactly how slavery succeeded. That was what led to the death of Patrice Lumumba. That's what led to the death of Thomas Sankara. That's what led to the fall of Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana. When we are so easily bought, when we are so easily purchased, our convictions and our principles are not strong. Somebody said, if you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything. Over and above the issue that we're facing right now with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we now need to go look. Because when you solve a problem, you have to dig into the root cause. If you don't dig into the root cause, that problem will happen again. So that is what I would like to essentially leave this interview with. We need some form of cultural renaissance in Nigeria, where we do things differently. As long as we don't do things differently, the personalities will change. It will be KGN in one generation, it will be whoever in another generation, it will be Tinubu in another generation. But then we will always be like this. And that is not how we want to be, because our development will be very slow if we continue this way.
Fantastic. Adejuwa and Jory. I don't even need to tell you to give any passing or last view or anything. You just did that. That was perfect. I mean, what beats my imagination is this. From 2007, when then Governor Tinubu left power, to now, it's a very long time, I mean, if you have all these, you could have just gone to last week. I'm sure they'll bring the exam to him in the house you understand? He could have gone to any secondary school, I mean, look at Governor Adeleke, he went back to school, yeah. Even Atiku, Obasanjo went back to National Open University,
of Nigeria.
Even though his own records are not disputed, everybody knows Obasanjo in Baptist Boys High School. He attended the same time as MKO and all that, but he went back to National Open University. So we could have just done, and the law actually says the minimum requirement for public offices, which is secondary school, what we call GED in America. So I don't think that would have been a difficult thing. A lot of secondary schools in Lagos would be. As a matter of fact, that government college, if I just got that there, I'll sit down with them in the class and do WAEC, And the law doesn't say you must get A's or B, you understand? Even if they're all F9s, it's
for it.
Yeah, so it is very shameful. It's very shameful. And what also makes it pathetic actually is that there's a pattern, from 99. So even those that are defending him now vis-a-vis Chicago State cannot say categorically this is a primary school he attended, this is a secondary school he attended. So my recap for everything we have discussed today before we leave is that, look, in 1999, you said you went to St. John's Primary School. That school was not existent. It was St. Paul's that they had. You said it was a lie. It was a big lie. You said you attended Government College, but that's another lie. That's one lie too many. You said you attended University of Chicago, We now all know you did not. It was disputed. Another lie. You said you was a certified public accountant. Another lie. You said you work for Deloitte and Touch. Another lie.
We didn't even touch that.
The we
We
didn't
didn't
even
even
touch that.
touch
Yeah.
that. We
My
didn't touch
intention
the
is.
FBI. We didn't touch the FBI. The
I'm
FBI
gonna
files
say
that
that.
are about to drop.
A file, yeah, that's going to drop, which was why I said that the issue of whether his name was Bola Tinubu or he had another name, he should come out clean on that. Yeah, and I think he has some semblance of education, but it might not be under that name, Bola Tinubu. You understand? I've listened to people that have also said that maybe that name, his real name too, also has baggages. We're not in a position to say if that is true or false. But if he has a previous name and is refusing to use it, that means, there's a lot of comment. But we know there's a Freedom of Information Act that's been filed, and they've responded that they're going to drop quite a tranche very soon. So we'll wait for it. And I'm sure if that comes, we're going to bring you back here also as usual, because we have a pattern with you also, not for void certificate, but we have a pattern with you here on
No,
this
I don't
topic.
have that problem. Not at all.
I know, on this topic. So anyway, we're going to call it a wrap there. We'll be talking to Adejuwon and Jory. He goes for the jugular, he shoots straight. That's why I bring him, honest man, fantastic pedigree, hardworking guy. He knows his onions. He will tell you my primary school, my secondary school, his university.
That has
He's a
become
guy
something now.
yeah. So I mean, I can also tell you that these things are not very difficult, but the truth of the matter is, before we leave it, that it's not good for Nigeria. Nobody can spin this. On Atlanta discourse, that is our verdict. You cannot spin this. The president really has to come out and talk to the people. You are holding a position of trust. That's our verdict there. President Bola Tinubu, you are holding a position of trust. Please address us. It is bad enough that a forged document has been submitted, but these things have happened before. You understand? We've had issues with Nixon in America, the greatest country in the world. Come on, you cannot avoid us. I mean, according to even what you say, you're elected by the people. You are living in a house owned by the people. So you're a public figure. It won't cost you anything. I mean, people apologize and resign. People apologize and they are pardoned. You understand? So
Salisu Buhari did that.
Yeah. So and if you don't know, Mr. President, it will be difficult for you to succeed if this issue is not trashed.
No.
It's the biggest baggage on the neck of the country, more than if you don't know, it's part of what's causing the economic problem.
It is.
It's part of why there can't be progress in your government. This baggage is too much. And the longer it goes, the more you get worse for Nigeria.
And Nigerians everywhere.
Because Nigeria is sick. And it's like stage 3 cancer. I won't call it 4. It's like stage 3 cancer. What's the exchange rate now? It's over $1,000.
Yeah,
so, Mr. President, please, we beg you, address us. Where Nigeria is the largest concentration of Black people anywhere in the world. And, I'm sure if you do that, we'll respect it. Keeping quiet will not solve the problem. And we're going to call it a wrap there. Adejuwon, thank you for heeding our call every time. You're a patriot, clearly a patriot. I'm sure we need more of you in Nigeria. This is not the best time. The people saying the truth, I won't say they are shrunk or they are shrinking. Their percentage is actually very negligible, which says a lot. So hopefully in the future, we're going to discuss how to move forward, because this is not going to last forever. One way or the other, something has to give.
Bust at some point. Yeah, something will give at some point.
Yeah, and I have a feeling if it happens, it's going to happen so fast. So to our listeners that have been discussing the TINUBU paper, the facts of the matter, we have tried to be as honest as possible. I mean, we were honest to the best of all the evidences available, from Bola Tinubu's INEC form of 1999 to that of 2002, to the deposition from the court in Chicago, to the certified true copy of the judgment on forfeiture of 460,000, to the records at Government College, Eric Moore, Southwestern College, and what have you. That's what we do here. We just go for the fact. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, we'll be back with another very interesting topic for you guys. Adejuwon, thank you for hitting our call all the time. One more time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Atlanta Discourse.
Thank you. Bye.